Hey guys, this is Audrine. I've decided to finally do this base tutorial. I use the program Adobe Illustrator Creative Cloud. For this, I'm going to try to show you some basics, and then I'm also going to try and show you some more advanced things that I've learned throughout the years using Illustrator. I've been using Illustrator for about 5 years now, so I know quite a few things. So I'll just jump right in. I always start with putting the base down and putting my ref sheet down. I then put the credit to the base artist, and this base is done by Milk Tea Sour, and I really like their bases. They don't have too many, but they're really good quality bases, and I personally find really good bases hard to find. The rev sheet I chose is Sugar Rush, and my friend LPS Twilight Saga owns this character, and I'm really excited to draw her because she's really cute. And I also chose her for a lot of different reasons other than she's cute. It's because she has a lot of different Illustrator techniques I have to use, so the two-toned hair, even the heart, and then the gradient in her hair. So I usually start with whatever's on the top, so I'll start with this little hairpiece. And I'm going to go over here, and right now it's a fill, so I'm going to press Shift X, and you can also use these buttons to switch it to a stroke. After I do that, I'm going to double check what it looks like, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to click at the first point. I use Illustrator a little weird from everybody else, but it's my tutorial, so that's okay. And then I choose wherever I think the bottom point's going to be, and then I click and I drag. And when I drag it, it makes a curve, obviously, and then I'm going to click on this anchor point at the bottom. If I don't do that, it shows you in the preview that it'll look really funny. But if I click, it'll take away the anchor point, and then I'm going to click my next point, and then I'm going to click again, and then I'm going to close this shape. After I do that, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to make sure it looks good enough. I think this has to be a little bit longer, so I'm just going to select it and pull it down and make it bigger. Yeah, that looks good. And then after I do this, it's obviously really thin, and I don't want it to be really thin, and so I'm going to go over to my stroke panel. If you open it up originally, it might look like that. So you just click on these little buttons until it shows all of this information. I personally like all of it. I guess you don't really need all of it, but it's fine. I think this is a 15 by 15 canvas, and I've been using around 7 to 9 stroke weights for my drawings. And then I'm going to color pick this star, and I'm going to just go on ahead and put that on a layer above using just the star shape tool. If you hold the shift button, it will just stay. I make these usually smaller than the consistent weight I have on the rest of the body just because it's so small. And then after that, I do the ear, so I'm going to go over and I'm going to color select the stroke of the ear, and then I'm going to press Shift X again to make sure that it's a stroke. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the first piece of hair, which is click, click and drag, click that anchor point, and then click and drag it again. And then I'm also going to make that the same weight as this, which is 7. So I'm going to go over to weight and type 7. And then I'm going to go on ahead and do this part. And then I'm going to make this smaller than that. And then there's 2 different ways to do this. For simple straight lines like this, I just go down to this profile and it says uniform, and I choose the second one because that's the one that obviously matches it best. And then I kind of just do the rest of it the same way. I'm going to hopefully just do a little speed run until I get over to the eyes, and then I'll start talking about the eyes and how I do that. actually there's this one part I want to talk about other than the eye, so we're just gonna do this and then the eye. Basically, I'm gonna talk about the muzzle and how I do the muzzle because it's a little bit different than just using the profile over here for different widths. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to do what I always do, which is start at one point and then end at the other. This part that you're watching me do is actually, I don't think it's complicated, but for beginners it might be kind of complicated. I can see where the points have to land, but this might be some experimenting until you get it right. But so I have this, and then I'm going to make it up to the weight of 7. And then if I turn off that layer and I try to do this, it's really thin at the top of the nose and at the bottom of the jawline. And to fix this, I use the shortcut that's Shift W. This is going to be the width tool, and I'm going to click and drag it, and you can see a preview of what it's going to look like. I just like to make it bigger so it's consistent throughout rather than ending really, really thin. And then I'm going to do the nose, which is the same as the ear. It's going to be smaller. Usually I think I do around 3 to 4 for here because it's so small. And then I'm going to do the eyes. So for the eyes, I'm going to press the D button, which will give me the 2 default colors, white as a fill and black as a stroke. I'm going to use the shortcut of the slash button to take away the white fill. You can also press the button right here where my mouse is, but I use shortcuts because it makes everything a lot faster when it adds up together. So now I'm just going to have this black, and I'm going to make sure it's complete black because sometimes Illustrator uses a dark gray instead of a black, and I personally prefer black for the eyes. And then I'm going to go back over and I'm going to look at her eye and make sure that I'm going to do this correctly. So then I'm going to go back, and they obviously have different eye styles, but that's okay because I'm just going to go over it. Okay, and so here's the lines for the eyes. The next part, it's going to get a little bit complicated because I'm going to start using masks. And using masks for me personally is really helpful. And you'll see why in a second. So basically, I'm going to take white. So I'm going to fill in the eye completely with white. And then after I have both of them completely filled with white, I'm going to take both of them and I'm going to copy it. After I copy it, I'm going to hide this layer. So then I'm just going to color pick my black, and then I'm going to use the circle tool, and I'm going to put a circle right on top of where the circle is on the base. Or like roughly at After I have that done, it looked really funny because obviously it's not in the right place. What I used to do is I would just erase it with the eraser tool, but I learned that something a lot easier and a lot more accurate is using the mask tool. So I'm going to press Command-Shift-V to paste in place, and then I'm going to select my first eye, and I'm going to use the shortcut Command-7, and that makes it look right. Isn't that awesome? And then I'm going to do the same thing for this eye. And then the only weird thing about this is that now you have the outline that goes completely around the eye rather than that circle being its own individual shape. So then I'm going to go to my Pathfinder menu, which I have right here, and I'm going to press this third one. So I do that for both, and then I'm going to lock that layer, and I'm going to go back over to my picture, and I'm going to choose the eye colors, which are conveniently over here. I love it when people do this. And what I'm doing right now is I'm selecting the color with my eyedropper tool, and then I'm clicking and I'm dragging it into my gradient panel. I'm going to put both of them in my gradient panel, and it was originally black and white, so I just go right over that, and Illustrator will do its thing. If you accidentally do it where you take, like, let's say I take this pink and I put it in and this white and black is still showing, I can just click and drag the white out, and then choose my other color, and then if I do the same thing by accident, I'm going to just click and drag this black out. After I do that, I'm going to use the circle tool once again, and I'm going to place this right over where it is on the base. And then I'm going to paste this again, and then I'm going to do the same thing as last time, which is make another mask. So I select both of them and I press Command 7. And then for this one, I'm also going to do the same thing I did with the eyes, which is press this button, which makes it its own shape. And then I'm going to press the G button, which helps me direct where I want the gradient to be. You could also use this degrees thing, which I only really use if it's completely 90 degrees, but I can also just do that with the G button. And then after I have these, I'm going to copy and paste both of these. Well, I'm going to copy both of these, and then I'm going to lock that layer and make a new layer, and then I'm going to do the shine of the eyes. The way I do the shine of the eyes is first I'll take the color, and then I will put it on top, and it won't fit correctly. So it'll just look like this, and it'll look really messy. And then after I have this, obviously it's not on correctly, so I'm going to press Command-Shift-V once again, which is going to place the eye color that we just did. And again, we're going to do a mask, which is Command 7. And so that's just going to make sure it fits perfectly onto the eye. I just like to do that because I used to not, and it would always look a little uneven if I like zoomed in close enough, and I just really want my things to look perfect. And then we have the whites of the eyes, or the shine of the eyes, sorry. And I'm going to do that by just not showing what we just did. And then I'm going to make some circles. The shortcut for a circle is the L button. For this, you can either do a mask using the white of the eye, or you could just use the eraser. I use the eraser for this usually because I've already copied the eye color, and it's just a lot of work to recopy the white of the eye. And then there you have the eyes. And this is what it looks like so far. And then we're going to add some eyelashes. I like to do the eyelashes last because I always do the eyelashes really, really messy for the eyes. And if I put it on top of all of these layers, then usually the black stroke will show, and that's not good. So I just put it on the bottom. And then this is what the eyes are gonna look like when they're finished. It looks a little bit funny. It doesn't look as good as Valerie's, but I forgive myself. So I'm gonna do the rest of the body and the hair, and then I'm gonna get back to you guys and talk about how I do coloring, because doing the rest of the body and the hair isn't anything new. It's just a bunch of stroke paths and really boring to watch slowly. this, I'm going to color her in. I used to do a really, really long coloring process. I guess it wasn't really, really long, just in comparison to how fast I do it now, it's really long. You can see it in my older videos and my older speed paints, I'm pretty sure I do it. But I finally figured out how to use the paint bucket tool, and it's a little bit complicated in Illustrator, and I don't know why. But so I'm going to select everything that is my strokes. So I'm basically selecting everything except for the star pin, my name, the credit, and the eyes. So I'm going to copy all of that, and I'm going to paste it on the bottom of all of my layers. Command-Shift-V is the shortcut for paste in place. And then I'm going to press the K button, which is the paint bucket tool right over here. It's actually called Live Paint Bucket. And then I'm going to click. A pop-up is going to come up that says nothing that really matters. And then I'm going to press the V button. Obviously it looked really funny, so I'm going to press the slash button and I'm going to take away both the fill and the stroke. And then I'm going to copy it. So basically what I just did is I made a group that I can color in. So I'm going to select the body color, and then I'm going to press the K button, and I'm just going to click. So now it's all completely filled in, and it took 2 seconds. And then I'm going to do the ear, and then I'm going to do the other legs. And then after I have that, the hair is going to be a little bit different, so I'm going to lock this layer, and I'm going to paste in place the same thing we copied before. If it was a regular pony that just had one colored hair, I would just do it all on the same layer and then I would be done, other than the cutie mark, which I'm going to show later. But for this one, it's a little bit different. So first I'm going to start with the color that is most of the hair. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the hair. After that, as you can see, there's another color, and it's this lighter pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first take this lighter pink, put a layer on top, and I'm going to make this lighter pink a little bit darker. This is because I'm going to make the stroke of where the lighter color hits match the fill color. That'll make sense in a second, hopefully. So to do that, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to do this. It'll look really messy. And I'm just going to go on ahead and I am going to go over both of these. And it's going to look like this. I'm actually going to make it a little bit lighter just because I want to make sure they can tell the difference. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm going to do that for all of these pink stripes that there is in the hair. And I'll just speed through that. Okay, so now I have all of the colors that is the light pink that I need. This is going to be a little bit difficult for me to explain because I just recently learned how to do this, and putting it into words is going to be hard. It's a lot of me just trying and guessing. But basically I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it. After I copy this, I'm going to lock this layer and I'm actually going to just hide this layer. I'm going to go all the way to the top and I'm going to paste it. After I paste it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unlock and copy all of the hair layers. Now that I have this all selected, I'm going to deselect that part because that back part of the hair has a gradient rather than the light pink, which I'll explain how to do in a bit. And then after I have all of that, I'm going to relock those layers. I copied it beforehand. I'm going to unlock the layer we just pasted on, and I'm going to paste that on top of it. And once that is finished, I'm going to have to make this stroke of fill for the mask to work, because to my knowledge, masks don't really work with strokes, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, please. I'm actually going to delete first these strokes that are the thinner ones, because I want those to stay the dark pink rather than the light pink. Or at least I think I do. I guess I'll find out. Okay, so after I do that, I'm going to change all of these fills, or these strokes into fills, by going to object at the top that you can't see, sorry, to path, and then outline stroke. So that just made it so all of these are now fills instead of strokes, which means they are also not really editable as easy as strokes, but that's fine because we're not going to edit it at all. So I'm going to have this piece of hair, and I'm going to select all of these 3 stripes, and then I'm going to do a mask again. Oh, actually, first I'm going to make these bottom parts go out more. I just double clicked on it so I can only edit this so I don't accidentally click on anything else. And I'm going to do that with all of these just because I want to make sure the top and the bottom both have the dark pink consistently. Well, I guess the light pink consistently. Okay, and now that I have this, I'm going to press Command 7 and it just goes like this. And then I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to copy and paste these lines back on top and then kind of edit them so they just go right over this line, if I can do that. So now that we've done this mask, my lines obviously don't really match up together, so I'm just going to move this over a little bit and then it won't look as funky. And then that's going to be that part, and I'm going to do that for the rest of the hair, by which I mean I'm just going to press Command 7 for all of these, and then I'm going to move the stroke that's on the inside to match up with what I just did. And then now that we have this done, we're going to go ahead and do the next kind of complicated part. And so I'm going to show this layer again. I'm going to select all of it, and I'm going to make it the appropriate light pink color. And so obviously it's still really messy, but it's going to match up equally with the lines that I did. I'm going to go ahead and move these a little bit. I'm going to press the Shift C button, and then I'm going to pull this up. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this and pull it down a little bit, just because I want to make sure it goes right on top of that line. And then after I do this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my colored in hair. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it on top of the layer that we have with the messy highlights. After this, I have to expand this live paint group to make it an object. If that doesn't make sense, that's okay. I'm basically just going to go to object at the top and then I'm going to press expand. I'm going to expand object, fill, and stroke. I don't really know which one I need, so I just have all of them checked. It doesn't hurt to have all of them checked to my knowledge. And then I'm going to press OK. And so now that I have this, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to press ungroup. And I think, yeah, I'm going to have to press ungroup one more time. And then now that I have that, they're all going to be their own little separate shapes rather than a whole, path. And then I'm going to go ahead and select each of these little areas and I'm going to press Command 7 so they fit correctly into it. I also have to edit this one a little bit. Actually, I can just delete that one and then edit this to go more up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm just gonna continue to do that after I edit this a little bit more to, I want that. And like I said, I've just double clicked on it, so I am only editing this one item rather than the whole thing, because then it gets really complicated and hard to know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to move this over so I don't have the same issue I had before. And I'm going to select these two colors, well, these three colors, and I'm going to press Command 7. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to press Command 7. Same thing for all of these. For this one, there's two different shapes, but I want them to be one shape, so I'm going to go to shape mode and I'm going to merge these two shapes, so now it's just one full shape. And then I'm going to press Command 7, and then we've done the hair for the most part. Now that we have that part done, there is the gradient in her hair on the back over here. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to this layer that has the stroke. So this is the layer that has the stroke, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take both of these, and I'm going to expand it from a stroke to a fill. In Creative Cloud, you don't really have to do that, but I just prefer it that way because you can edit the gradients a lot more if it's a fill rather than a stroke. So I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color pick these, which is this color and then the regular stroke color. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on these. I'm going to press the greater than symbol on my keyboard. Oh, shoot. How embarrassing. And then I'm going to select both of these strokes. And I'm going to press the greater than symbol. And then I'm going to just type in here 90 degrees because it's completely up and down. And then sometimes if you put them in the wrong way, they'll show up like this. And just to solve that problem, you just click on this button right here, which will reverse the gradient. And then I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to go back to the layer that we have already expanded, and I'm going to select these three items, which is the back part of the hair. I'm going to combine them by pressing this button again. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color pick the hair. And then I'm going to, once again, do 90 degrees. And I also just noticed that I have this little thing right here, which is really annoying. So I'm gonna do this the really easy way, which is also the really messy way. So if you want your Illustrator thing to be clean, you might not want to do this. I'm gonna do this by going back up. I copied the stroke, and then I'm going to go on ahead and put this on top. Oh, I have to paste it in place. And then I'm going to go on ahead and go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke, and then I have it pasted onto my artboard. I'm actually going to copy this again, and I'm going to paste it onto the same. So I'm going to paste it onto here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this hair piece, and it shows that it's this entire hair, but we can tell visually that it's only going to be this darker pink. And I'm going to fix that the same way I did the eyes by pressing this third button under the shape modes. And then I'm going to select this, and I'm also going to select this, and then I'm going to press the second button of the shape mode, which will just cut it cleanly right where I want it to be. And now it looks normal. And then after that, I'm going to go back to the skin, and I'm going to do this eyelid because I didn't do it before for no reason other than I forgot. And now we're gonna do the cutie mark, which is honestly my least favorite part. I really don't enjoy doing cutie marks, but it's just something you have to do. So I do this by tracing directly on top of my reference usually, just because that makes it the most accurate. And then we're gonna start with this little donut. I'm gonna do the main color first, and I'm also probably just gonna ignore these little sprinkles because they're really hard to see for me. And this is also a free drawing, and I don't really need to put that much stuff into it. And so I'm going to go on ahead and just trace right over this. If you have a hard time seeing your cutie mark while you have this color on top of it, you can open up the transparency panel and you can change the opacity right here. So you could change it to like 50 or something, and then you'll be able to see it better. Also, to get any of these windows that I have up, if you're interested, they all should be under your window menu, and they're all titled what I'm saying they're titled. Now that I have this, I'm going to just choose a white because it's white, so I can do that manually. And then I'm going to trace right on top of the donut frosting. After I have this is really messy like all of mine are, and then I'm going to do another mask, which is selecting both and pressing Command 7. And then I'm going to press this button again so it's its own shape. I'm going to lower the opacity. And then we're going to do this little circle that's right here, and so I'm going to just color pick this. Use the L button short key. That was a really bad sentence, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to put it right there, and that's going to be what her cutie mark's going to look like. Which is pretty close, I think. Sorry if it doesn't look that close to you guys, but it's fine. So then we're gonna do hearts. I used to have a really hard time doing hearts because I would just trace right over them and they would always look uneven and wonky. So finally I went out of my way to see if there was anything online that taught me how to like make hearts easier, if there was like a heart shape tool or anything. And so what I found is you get a rectangle, and you can get the square / rectangle tool by pressing the M button. And I'm just gonna make a little rectangle. After I have this rectangle, I'm going to hold the shift button and rotate it 45 degrees. I'm going to copy the shape, paste it in place, and then I'm going to do transform, reflect, and then vertical. And then I'm going to make sure that both of these match up, and right now it's already starting to kind of look like a heart, except not really. So then I'm going to select both of these, and you can either copy and paste it, but I personally like to press the Option or Alt key, and then hold the Shift button, and drag it down. And then I'm going to press the A button. The A button is really for altering anchor points and such, and it also does this cool thing where it will round the edges for you in the new Creative Cloud. And so I'm just going to click on one of these circles, and it's going to turn them into circles, obviously, or just rounded edges. And so both of these don't look like a heart, but together they're going to make my heart. So I'm going to first just combine the two items because it's easier that way, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold the shift button and drag it back up. I hold the shift button just to make sure that they're exactly aligned rather than just a little bit off, because that'll look really weird. And then now obviously because the rectangle heart is bigger than the rounded heart, I can't see the rounded heart. So I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to erase the top part, because basically I'm combining the rounded top with the sharpened bottom. And then I'm just going to merge this together and you have a heart. It looks a little bit funny, but you can press the A button and you can like edit it however you want. Or you can just do like this. Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna do this, and then it's going to be my heart, and I'm gonna put it here. If you want it to be more rounded, you can always press Shift C, and you can like mess around with like these. But I've like never really been bothered with the more straight line rather than a rounded line, and I've never had any complaints about it. So I think it's okay. But you can also just do it manually, or you can trace it. It doesn't really matter. I just found that to be something interesting and something I wish I learned a really long time ago, but I didn't. Um, and then I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to drag it onto my pony. My pony is facing the opposite way as her pony, so I'm going to do transform, reflect, vertical, and it's going to be facing the correct way now. And now that I have this, I'm just going to smush it so it looks like it belongs on her leg. Please don't sue me for not being that great at placing cutie marks. I'm just doing my best. And now that I have that, I am of course going to do her hat. Before I forget. And the hat, yeah, is just, it might have a stroke. I can just do this stroke easy. But so basically we're going to draw this hat onto her. And if you want to have a stroke on this, since it's just one solid color, you can go ahead and I'm going to drag the fill onto the stroke. So now there's a stroke. And then choose a complete black and make it point size 7. And so now you can see that there's a stroke on it. And then I'm going to do the little thingy that's on top of the hat. I don't know what it's called. Sorry, guys. Yeah, and then we're going to do a part that I really think makes the drawing, honestly. And it's going to be the white outline behind the pony before I do my background. So I'm going to do that by just copying the live paint group that we already had for the body and also copying the hat. Since the hat was just included, if I don't copy and paste that, it obviously won't have a white stroke around it. So I'm just going to paste that in place, and then I'm going to take out whatever colors and whatever strokes we already had in there, and I'm going to press the D button, which is going to make a black stroke and a white fill. I'm going to press the Shift X button to switch that around, take out the black, and then I'm just going to expand this weight size probably to about 15 or 20, depending on what it looks like when I have a background. For the background, I kind of just choose whatever color I feel like choosing. If there's a background on my reference sheet that I've been given, I'll usually just steal that color because honestly, I'm not that great with colors. Yeah, that's pretty. And then I think this white is a little bit too thin, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it about 20. I like that a lot more. And as you can see, I forgot to select this little part of the hat. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix that. Sometimes I forget, and thankfully none of you guys like call me out for it, and I really appreciate that. Because I'll notice it after I post it, but then it's like honestly too late. And so here it is, as you can see where I just zoomed in. Now I have to fix it because I've seen it. Is this little corner doesn't have the pointy part, and there's like multiple different ways to fix it. I think I'm just gonna fix it the really lazy way today. I can expand the stroke again by doing the same thing we did with the hair to get the path and then edit the path, but I'm just gonna do it by making a layer under it, getting a white fill, and then I'm just going to pretend that this is a part of it, and there it is. And that's my whole drawing. I usually do a little background. If I want to do a background, I go to here, and then you can go to the swatch libraries. I like to do patterns, and I'll either have dots or lines because those are black and white, and the rest I think are colored, and I don't really like that. For this one, I will do a grid because that's aesthetic. And then I'm going to make a tiny square of it. And then after that, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to put this in the corner and I'm going to press the shift button and I'm going to put that all over so these squares are a lot bigger. Because if I go ahead and I just use the the grid, I guess, and I just completely fill it. It's going to be really tiny, and then if I do overlay, which I'm going to do for my other one, you won't be able to see that it's not black. But so I'm going to overlay it, and that's what it's going to be, and that's going to be my entire drawing. I think for this one I'm actually going to do the little shading on the bottom because I think that's really cute. It makes it look more 3D. And then I'm going to move my name because now it's in the way. I'm going to just put my name over here. Yeah. I like to make sure my name is like out of the way, but you can still see it. Obviously because I want people to know that I drew it rather than anybody else. But that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully I'll have this up soon and edited. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or message me on any social media. I have like Twitter, Tumblr, DeviantArt, Instagram. You can message me on any of them and I'll reply and I'll try to help you to the best of my ability. I am in no way a professional. This is just something I do for fun or as like a hobby or freelance artist sort of a thing.